Hello everyone, this is a mythical dragon here. Welcome to the Dragon's Den. Pull up a seat and select a drink of your choice. We have everything that you can think of here. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, I'm sure. But welcome. So, I have to start off this episode with another apology because I've had to delay the mysterious guest for their streaming experience interview one more week. I really don't have an excuse besides life kind of picked up again this week, and I have tripled booked myself in some cases, and it just got delayed, and I apologize. But I think this episode will still be quite special and unique, as I was racking my brain around for something I could do, because this episode is already kind of late for today, and I didn't really know what to talk about. But then I looked back at a speech I delivered on Tuesday, actually, the 17th, and I reflected on my journey to become a teacher and why I wanted to be a teacher. And that was a really beautiful reflection. A lot of realizations came from that. So I figured, hey, I have been recording this podcast every single week for 33 weeks in a row, officially, as of this episode. I think maybe it's time to go back a little bit and review what I've learned, how I feel about this, how's it going, and all those things. Just go on a little bit of a word vomit and reflect a little bit about this experience. So let us begin. Over the winter break, so end of December kind of idea, I really wanted to find an avenue or a place that I could just talk, to really have a voice, be heard. Even if no one watched these videos, it really didn't matter. I just wanted to feel like I could voice everything that I needed to say in an environment that could be conducive to that, where I wouldn't be immediately interrupted, cut down, judged, or people would try to steal the conversation away from where I would like it to go. That's been a pretty common experience for me, unfortunately, and a lot of interactions in my life, and it's not good. I've really been trying to stand up for myself a little bit more and have these things not be that way. However, with the digital and virtual world, it's actually a little difficult because for some reason, I don't know if it's because of my setup or the internet or even Discord or the apps I'm using, I usually am delayed. My voice will come in after everyone's already spoken, or when someone will speak even though I am speaking immediately. It just gets cut off that way. So technologically, I'm also cut off from a lot of people. But even in chats, on Discord, text channels, Twitter interactions, calling family, talking to others, I have a voice that's quite soft. And a lot of you actually really like my voice for doing these recordings, readings, videos, reactions, etc. So thank you for that. I really appreciate the little comments there and boost the confidence. It feels really great. But one thing you might notice about my voice is that it's actually quite soft. It doesn't have a hard edge to it or anything like that. And I've actually looked this up recently, that if you are soft-spoken and if you are a woman, that's the other factor here, people find it easier to actually overstep or take over the conversation. They find it a little easier to do so because they like the sound of your voice, but they're not necessarily listening to what you are saying. It's that weird disconnect there. So they'll listen and kind of enjoy the musicality to my voice, but they're not actually listening to the content or the things I'm saying directly because of my voice and how it sounds. Frustrating, isn't it? I don't really want that experience. I mean, I appreciate it when I hear that I've got this musicality to it, But then when you're trying to defend yourself or present an opinion or a topic or want to explore something a little further, that's where that gets cut off, and I get cut off. So I started this podcast to enjoy my own musicality of my voice a bit, try to learn to love it a bit better than I do. Today I'm a little nasally. I don't know. That's my own complaint about today. It's because allergies are a thing, and I'm also just on 1 hour of sleep. It's fine. Yeah. But I started so I could actually just get through a topic in its entirety without interruption, without someone immediately stepping in and saying they know more than I do, that kind of thing. So I started the podcast just for that reason, basically. But as I've now done this for 33 weeks, I've realized a few other purposes and reasons I've done this. Another thing is, it's like this podcast for me is like a video journal, a little bit, because I will go through every week and with the topics I want to discuss or set up to discuss, and it's kind of a marker of where I'm at in my life. I go back every once in a while to listen to the Toastmasters episodes because I am far further down the road in Toastmasters than I was when I started this podcast. And for me, that's sort of this chronological marker for me of my experiences and where I started to where I'm at. Literally quoting Drake here. Start from the bottom, now I'm here, a little bit. So it's actually this like really cathartic release of ideas that can become like a little journal for me. And I'm really bad at journaling, I'm not gonna lie. I do a form of it. It's not like the written paragraphs that you expect in a journal or a diary kind of thing. It's more of me. I've got a whiteboard hanging up on my wall, and there's things I'll do every day on that whiteboard. I will write down a quote or something I heard that I really enjoyed, and then I will go through and write down the positives for that day, and then I'll write down 3 things I'm grateful for every single day. It's a beautiful thing to actually do. It's not a formal journal, of course, because it's not written down in a book or on a bullet journal, that kind of thing, but life has been pretty tough for all of us, of course, in the pandemic. So when you can look at that whiteboard at the end of the day, fulfill it out, and you can just actually recognize those positive aspects, it really helps, especially if you do feel like you've had a really, really crappy day. And it's a really good practice that I've had. And this is what the podcast also does for me a little bit too. I sit here, I press record, I get through the episode, and whenever I do finish recording, I'm always smiling. I'm always feeling better. I'm always just feeling like an appreciated, heard human, which is remarkable. It's what a gratitude journal aims to do for you. And so the podcast has become that in its own unique little way, with the set topics that I have, the one-offs, the weird things I bring up every now and then. It still does that for me. And that's the reason why I want to keep doing this. This sort of chronological marker meets gratitude journal, and create a space where I feel like I can get through a topic fully without interruption or people just listening to my voice instead of what I'm saying. These are some things I realized that this is what the podcast is for me. These are the reasons why I'm doing it. And I think it's very, very healthy to keep doing this and to keep wanting to do this. So I'm hoping that's actually a little interesting or a nice insight for you who do listen to this, because you can listen to these episodes and enjoy them, but if there's no overarching purpose for them, sometimes people just go away because they're like, oh, it's Dragyn talking about some random thing this week. Yeah, I could check it out later. But I think with that sincerity, I hope that means you'll keep listening and see where I'm at in my life. Some episodes I record, I'm on fire and I'm not on 1 hour of sleep. Other episodes, I'm on no sleep and I'm just come home from work and I just muster through it. So it's interesting to go back and listen to those episodes too, where you can absolutely tell that that's how I'm feeling. So again, this episode will be a marker of that for me. So yay, I'm not sure if I want to celebrate that thought or moment right now. I'll take it. I'm doing this for you. It's a Thursday. I gotta get this video up here, and here we are. Dedication. And that's actually a really nice transition. Dedication. I have been through a lot of different phases of being dedicated to streaming, to YouTube, charity fundraising, volunteering, creating new hobbies, habits, that kind of thing. Diets even, all of those things that people do that tend to not work or stay or remain, really. Yet this has. This podcast, this episode, this entire series is dedication. Something I didn't think I actually would have, because I've given up on so many other things in my life. I've given up on streaming. I've given up on keto diet. I did that for a while, and obviously that's kind of stopped. I've given up working out daily, which I need to get back to, now that I say that out loud. But I used to do that every day, like at the start of the pandemic. I used to be like really on top of everything. But now I'm not. Yet, sitting down recording this podcast episode every week, whenever I do that in the week, sometimes it's early, sometimes it's last minute or late, like today. I realized though that I actually have done this every single week for 33 weeks in a row, and I am amazed. It really shows that if you do something like this, where you take it one video a week, one recording a week, and you just do that small step, it's quite remarkable to be at this point where you're like, whoa, I actually do have 33 videos in this playlist. I have done this. This is a hobby. This is a habit now that I don't really want to get rid of. I've made it a habit. If I can do this with the podcast, it's time that I start looking at other aspects of my life and create better habits. And maybe get rid of some not so good habits. I dare you, by the way, at the end of this episode to count how many actuallys I say, because in Toastmasters, that's been the running joke of my Tuesday morning meeting, is we do all counter report, but then Violet gets in all actually report. So, oh boy, I'm going to try to work on that. Hopefully. Who knows? Yeah, so I've actually created this into a habit. I'm really looking forward to keep doing this as a habit. Obviously, I want to keep doing this. This has been an amazing journey, as you've heard, like with realizing that this is like a marker for me in my life. It tracks things down, gives me a space to talk and voice things that I don't normally get to do in my life. But it's also a rather successful habit that I've built for myself, and I really want to take the drive and the dedication I have to this podcast and put it to other aspects of my life. I also have to be wary that I'm pretty dedicated to many other things as well currently, like with Toastmasters and work. I guess I'm dedicated to work, I suppose. Dedicated to work in the sense that I need an income and to live a life. that's about where that dedication draws the line. But yeah, I wonder, because, okay, so now I'm going to go into a little side tangent here. Welcome to my brain this lovely Thursday. I've been reading a lot about the philosophy of Kaizen. Now, some of you probably have never heard that word before. Others may have heard it, but only understand it in maybe like a marketing or production sense. But I've read a book recently about Kaizen and how you can apply some of the philosophies to your own life to make improvement, to make continuous improvement in your life. And I realized that this podcast has been Kaizen for me in the terms of why I wanted to do it. And if I just focus on a video a week, just do that very simple, small step of setting the time aside to record the video, check. Now I'm recording the video, check. Next thing I do is usually immediately after I record these, I'll go through and edit and then post. If I just break it down, this entire podcast series, into 4 steps that I do every week, that is manageable. It's obtainable, and it has been obtainable to this point. Now I gotta think about how to do that with other things in my life. Maybe if I want to get back into like a healthier living, I should really set one evening a week where I meal prep. And that way I have a set of healthy meals for the week. I should set maybe a day or 2 a week where I do a full-on workout. Probably on my days off. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to do that on a work day because I've done that before. And my job is very physical and you do a lot of lifting. aka maybe a full workout sometimes on those days may not be good. But to just really break those down into the small steps that will lead you to a larger goal, and if you can create a habit out of the small steps, you can increase those steps as you go along. Now for the podcast, once a week is where I'm at. It fits really well with my schedule. I do not think I'll increase the frequency of these videos for the podcast per se. I think the once a week works really, really well, especially with the other 2 series I've got going on. So I think that's where that is. Once a week you get this very intimate experience with Dragyn. But I think with the rest of my life I should really try using this Kaizen concept a bit more. Really break down your goals into the tiniest possible and achievable step, and you'll get there. That seems like a really good idea. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are below, or if you want me to go into more details about Kaizen, because I will. I can provide another example for it. The author said that she had a friend of hers that wanted to run a marathon. That was the big, ultimate end goal of where she wanted to be, is to run a marathon. Now what's really great about that goal is there's no timeline. She didn't say, I'm going to run a marathon in 6 months. I'm going to run a marathon in 10 years. It's just, I'm going to run a marathon one day. I think that's the key part about setting goals too. I realize that in other cases or in environments, there's usually a deadline. Like, for example, core development. Toastmasters that I'm a part of, we've got a deadline of the end of September to find 3 new members. That's a deadline. We have to really work on achieving that. And there'll be other things in your life too that will have those deadlines. However, if it's something that is pretty lofty, if you know that it's lofty for you, just stating that big item goal without a timeline is helpful, because then now you can actually break it down to, what do I need to get to a marathon level? And she talks about this quite a bit, where she goes, this friend never walked or ran regularly at all, but one day she just wanted to run a marathon. So the next morning she chose to go for a 10-minute walk. And she would measure how far she'd go on these 10-minute walks, basically. And each week she'd try to push herself just a little further. Maybe to go down one extra street. Maybe to go down one extra block. Maybe to take the longer way back instead of going the way you went before. And all within 10 minutes is just, again, building up that speed, that stamina, etc. And once she feels like she's maxed that out, she then increased it to 15 minutes a day for a walk, and would do that same process again. And it's very small, as you hear, like that tiny little change, like going down an extra street and back, or going down around an extra block in that same amount of time. A very tiny, achievable goal. And eventually it led to her being able to walk for an hour straight. Then she did an hour of walking and 10 minutes of running. And then it would be an hour walking or then it would be 50 minutes of walking and 20 minutes of running. And it would be like that kind of slow, gradual build-up. And the remarkable thing is, despite it being a very tiny, small step to this marathon running, she actually was able to run this marathon within a year and a half. Remarkable. For someone who was a couch potato, literally, to being able to run a marathon. I almost did really bad math there. In 18 months is phenomenal. And I think Kaizen is just something really unique that I would like to look at a little bit more in my life. But anyway, that's a huge tangent on Kaizen. My apologies. Look it up if you want. The book is called Kaizen by Sarah Harvey. It's good. Check it out. Moving on. Why did I even bring up Kaizen? Oh, that's right, because the podcast. I've done these 4 steps of publishing this video every week, and it's attainable. It's achievable. Do I miss my deadlines by a smidge here and there? Yeah. It's life. Life is very tricky, and lately my mental health has not been the greatest. So the fact that I can sit down and just get it done finally on the day is impressive some weeks. But I still do it. I want to do it. That's the thing that is driving me a lot, is I will wake up on a Thursday morning, and if I haven't recorded this, that's the first thing I want to do when I wake up. I sometimes go and get coffee first and, a little bite to eat, because, I don't know, living like a human should probably be a priority some days, I guess. But then after I take care of, the necessities, it's like, I have to do this video. I have to record. I need to get this going. I want this up. I want it up today. And it's exciting that these little steps that I've created for myself are so easy to do. I can check them off every week. And then it leads to results. It leads to the 33 weeks of videos. Amazing. And I really do want to apply this technique of the little steps to a bigger goal in many aspects of my life now. And I'm sure you'll hear more about them, but definitely some of these things I want to work on to building into a habit, like my videos, obviously, would definitely be a little more physical workout or exercise, whether that be maybe I'll take up walking, who knows, or I can do some lifting weights, because I got up to 10-pound weights at one point during my routine last year, I guess. I got to that point, which was amazing. Can I lift those again regularly, continuously? I don't know. I think I managed to get up to 15 reps of those. I could try and let you know, but yeah, I want to do some sort of like regular exercise routine. Maybe create something, who knows? Maybe start with something a little low-key like Tai Chi and yoga. Those are beautiful, by the way. There's some really great YouTube videos. that you can learn how to do some basic Tai Chi and yoga. Amazing. And build it up from there. Also, definitely want to work on saving more finances, be a little bit better with that. I've totally just let that go. I haven't really cared about finances as much. I'm not like super broke. Not at all. I still have savings and I put money away here and there. But I kind of threw the budget out the window the last couple of weeks and just said, fuck it. It's gonna be, if I feel overwhelmed, busy, and insane, I'm gonna do takeout. I don't give a shit. I need to kind of rein that in a bit. And maybe actually really do focus on savings. So maybe I can move again somewhere in the world. Who knows? Like, that's also a big lofty goal, is maybe to go abroad and teach again. Who knows? And yeah, there's just some other things too there that I'd like to work on. Being more social and active on social media a bit. I've been talking the big talk a little bit in Toastmasters about how much I know about social media and how much I've used it. And at the same time, I'm not using it a lot currently. So maybe build up that presence again. Find a way to be funny on Twitter. Funny on Twitter, that's hard. I just repost the memes because that's what they're there for, right? Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, just creating these habits again would be really, really great. And the podcast, this is a realization. Look at that! Reflecting on the 33 weeks so far is leading to a lot more other realizations that I want to work on in the next rest of this year, possibly, or even in the following year. Who knows? But to work on that would be really great. For sure. Also with the podcast, I find that I really do enjoy having guests on the podcast. Doing these interviews with them, like with Crumpler, Lourdes, Spam, Doc, Nightshade. All of the guests I've had on the channel so far has been a really lovely experience. Because I know my friends, I know these people quite well, or at least I think I do, until I get into this one-on-one, cozy little setting. I send them the questions ahead of time because I'm a nice person. Then I get to actually hear them explore their lives, their reasons, their why. And I learn so much more about them. And it makes me really appreciate their friendship a lot more, or even just the fact that I know them a lot more. Because with even Lourdes and Crumpler, like Crumpler specifically, I've known him for quite a long time. And I had no idea that is how he found Twitch, or got onto Twitch. For those that don't know, I did an episode with Crumpler, and he told me about his streaming experience and how he found Twitch and where he started, and I was surprised by a lot of it. So I learned a lot more about my friend through that experience, despite knowing him for 5 years. A remarkable experience, and I want to do that with others. I want to have that same feeling again. And next week's guest will be a little like that. I've known him for 5 years too. Longer. Well, Crumpler 5-6 years. Spam and the guest next week, pretty much almost 7 years. 7 years actually, right away. Damn. I've known these people that long, and just to have them in the setting to see and hear more about them and what they think and how they think. Remarkable, an absolute journey to go on. And I can't wait for more. I have other ideas planned for interviews. Spam's coming back for an episode here soon. I just have to let him get settled into San Francisco living because he's moving there. But I want to do more guests. I want to do more interviews. They're really enjoyable for me, and the feedback I've gotten from the others, really positive. So those that are still listening and have been a guest on the podcast, come back soon. reach out to me, or I can reach out to you with some topics I have in mind, and we can have a little rendezvous, potentially. Yeah. So yeah, I do love doing those experiences, and learning so much about other people is such a joy and a gift, really, because how can you really truly connect with someone through text channels only, through your weekly D&D games? Because usually those D&D games are, you come in, you try to remember what happened last week, and then you begin the game. Basically, there's not a whole lot of time for that one-on-one connection, or for that little checkup or check-ins, really, that I cherish. Maybe not others. Others could probably be fine without that kind of connection, but I cherish those connections a lot. So, yeah. Hopefully you guys enjoy the chemistry of those episodes too, because I really do. Really, really do. Now, another thing about the podcast, I have my off weeks, I've got my good weeks for sure, but with me being a part of Toastmasters, the reason I've joined is to get better at speaking and communicating. And that is eliminating a lot of filler words or filler sounds, and I do really well in the podcast some weeks. Like, I'll go back and I'll upload the video into my editing software, and I'll listen to it, and I'm like, okay, great. There's a little there, but I think I can't remove that. That would be a little hard, so it'll stay. And then I'll get through the end of it. I'm like, oh, I barely had anything to cut out on that episode. Well done me. Congrats. Here you go. Upload it, and I'm good to go. Other weeks, I definitely have the moments, for sure, where I could tell that I'm maybe a little tired, wasn't fully prepared for the episode, that kind of idea. And then it's a lot of editing. A little behind the scenes for when I did a little bit of the unique history stuff in the podcast. There's one that I remember. I don't remember what the episode was, but there was one episode where I had to edit a lot out of it because, again, those episodes are coming from me reading articles and placing historical context on them, reacting to them, having realizations about them, that idea. And there was one week where I read the same paragraph 4 times completely wrong. And I really was tempted to leave in my little random reaction to it but the 4th time that it happened, I was like, oh, for crying out loud, why can't I read? I'm an English teacher. I should be able to read this shit. Why can't I read this shit? And I had a big freak out in the middle of the episode. And then I just released that emotion and said, okay, you got this. 5th time's the charm. Take a breath and go. I really wanted to keep that in randomly, but I've been really proud of the podcast and how it flows. Having a little something like that is too disruptive, especially for that sort of idea for a podcast episode. So I didn't leave it in, but there you go. There's a little insight to unique history for you guys. If I keep fucking up a section for reading, I really do react to it. In the terms of reacting to myself being a dum-dum and speaking faster than I'm reading. So there's that. But that's another thing the podcast has me realizing is my communication is getting better, or at least I know what I can take out of my conversation after listening to the podcast episodes. I'm all about self-improvement lately, especially in Toastmasters. With the new leadership opportunities that I have, I want to really step up my game and be better in general with communication, organizing my time, which obviously has been failing lately. I apologize. And leading the charge even. I want to get better at these things. So the podcast helps me with that. I can recognize when I'm listening to myself, the habits I have that are not good for communicating, remove them and publish lists, and it sounds all nice and good. But when I have those realizations, I write them down. I said, okay, this week for some reason, Violet, you've talked a lot and you brought in a lot of so in your speech. So's. Like those kinds of things. It's maybe time to focus on that for this week in Toastmasters. Or maybe there's a lot of filler words, or I've got a lot of random long pauses or silences that aren't intentional. And I have to work on filling those in as well. So the podcast is also helping me with Toastmasters, and Toastmasters is helping me with communicating. So it all works in really, really well. This idea for a podcast, why I'm doing it, and realizing that it is helping me improve. Some weeks, probably you don't recognize it, or you hear a lot of uhs and ums and so's and filler words and actuallys. Other weeks it will sound a little more polished because I've actually edited it, or I've paid attention to what I'm saying and I'm more purposeful with what I'm saying. That's been a really huge benefit to this podcast. Now I'm going to get into some other realizations I've just had, though. I'm becoming better at communicating. I'm leading. I've created a habit. I'm dedicated to this. I have an outlet to finally speak in environments where I will not be interrupted or be stepped on, basically. However, I am still quite isolated in many ways. I've got Toastmasters every week. Those people are amazing friends for sure that I've made throughout this year. However, when it comes to online world or online communicating or with my friends here in the online sphere right now, I don't get a chance to do this. To put these skills into use, I don't. I do a little bit in D&D because it's a little acting. I get to be fun. I get to be Malva in Curse of Strahd at Lourdes' channel. And be a fiery monk who goes and does stupid shit, basically. And I get to be Yuri with another campaign I'm in recently with Nightshade Yarnos and the Brits. That's what I call them, although there's Americans in the group too, but the Brits basically. Where I get to be Yuri, who's a little more of this bubbly, charismatic character that I really am not. And it's fun to challenge yourself in that way in D&D. However, when I get into a group, I haven't been in a group call in ages. Oh my gosh. I haven't been invited to anything in forever. I really haven't put these skills that I've obtained into use at all, which affects the confidence I've been building. I'm gaining confidence back like no tomorrow. There's days that I go out there and I found my voice, I feel great, and I can put on a show for anyone who wants it, and I'm rocking it, I'm killing it. Then there's other days where the only communication I have is from text. And you just sit there and you're going, why are we texting? Let's just call. And to press the button and just call someone is so difficult. So while the podcast, I'm so grateful I do this every week, and I'm definitely never ever going to stop this for the foreseeable future. I wish I could take this skill and transfer it in my social life and really connect with friends again and better, and to meet new friends too. You know, it's sad when I sit down and record these videos and at the end of the recording my throat's upset and sore. That's really sad. These episodes are an hour, almost an hour long, and my throat is sore because I've actually talked for the first time today, and it's an hour long. And then I recover it, and then I don't talk to anyone again for the rest of the day. That's so sad. I am a teacher. I need to develop my teaching voice again. I will be talking to my kiddos all day long. I need to really work on that skill again and build up those vocal cord strength. I know there's many activities out there on the internet and YouTube that you can do and use to strengthen your vocal cords. Totally there is. But the best way to do it is to have calls of friends, hang out with people, be social, talk to a human instead of a computer. And that's one thing I really want to work on, is to find a way to transfer this really amazing thing I've got going on the podcast into that social life. Which I'm not sure how to do that yet. Maybe I just need to kick myself a little bit and stop being a little stubborn and keep formulating the plans and keep creating hangouts. Be that social planner that I was a year and a half ago, basically. Keep doing all of that, maybe, and do that again. I stopped doing that because I felt I was the only one that would care enough to plan it. No one else would. And if they do plan something, I was left out. So it's been hard to kind of want to go back down that road. But at the same time, if I want to have proper vocal strength to teach full time, whenever that will be, I need to be a little more social. I need to talk to people. So that's something I'm going to work on, I think, is take what I do here in the podcast, find a way to bring up these things with others, and hang out with people. There you go. Be social. That's one goal I want to achieve from these transferable skills in the podcast to my real life and to my social life. Also, it feels great to form this connection with an audience, of course, that's listening, and it feels really great to do something like this. And again, I'm smiling throughout these episodes, for sure, all the time, and it feels so good to do this. But another thing I want to really work on, I guess, is having this same feeling with another person. Yes, I'm talking about potentially dating and relationships. Oh lordy, here we go. But lately I've been feeling that want of a connection with someone like that. That deeper, rooted connection, while also having fun and getting to know someone new. I would love to do that. I feel like I do that with the podcast. I feel like I don't know every single person that watches my videos, so hi. I'm glad you feel connected enough to keep watching. Thank you. But yeah, I think it's time to take this intimacy that I have with the podcast and find that in someone else too. Like outside of a friendship. So there's that realization too, is I can get all sultry and ASMR in the podcast. But that's really sad to say that I've never done that with anyone in my life. So I want to do that too. Well, this podcast has been a journey. You all really get to know a lot about myself, who I am, how I think, how I articulate my ideas, how I communicate. This podcast is the most vulnerable form of an outlet that I have. And the fact that you lovelies are still listening to this and want more or anticipate it every week is amazing. It really shows me that people out there care. I do have people that are wanting to know me and want to listen to me. in a very indirect way, of course. I mean, message me if you want. I'm free. Message me if you want to know more about me. But this is a great way to do it too, of course. So thank you for showing me that you care by listening to these episodes every week. To listen to my rambles about life and a variety of topics. And really thank you for allowing me to have this outlet that I've obviously needed in my life. Like, really, all of you, thank you. The podcast for sure is not ending. I want to bring on more people as a guest, to listen to their lives, get to know them better. I want to explore other topics that might get a little deeper later in the year. But I really am so happy that I have this hobby, habit, and dedication down, because otherwise I'm literally not talking to a single soul or using my voice throughout the day. And it's sad. So this is my way of fighting that sadness a little bit and just being out there and being who I am and not really caring what the world thinks unless you leave a comment below in the description. Just kidding. You don't have to. But if you want to, that'd be great. And it's just really great to do these episodes. I really love it. It's truly me. This podcast, that's the best way to describe it. It's truly me. It's who I am. Not a lot of people get to see this in me, in my life. Spam does, because we have a weekly call basically, so he knows my crazy escapades a lot. My sister gets it too, because I live with her. Otherwise, it's just you and me, podcast listeners. So that's going to be the reflection there. I'm going to cut it here less than an hour. I've ran out of things to think about, plus I feel the sleep. I need it. There you go. So I hope this was interesting, and maybe you get a little more insight as to why the podcast started, why I'm doing it, what I've learned, and just thank you for creating this connection with me. It's really special, and I really am looking forward to next week's episode. So here you go. You've made it to the end. I'm giving you a gem. If you've made it through the 47 minutes so far, here you go. Next week's episode will be my interview with the one, the only Patrick Static. Yes, him and I have a history of... It's an interesting one. I'm sure we're going to get into it because, wow, I am a fangirl, and that has not changed in my life. So it's going to be a really fun journey. But yes, Patrick's agreed to come on. I've got the interview questions prepared and ready to go, and I'm really looking forward to reconnecting with him again, actually, because it's been a while, and I really wanted to hear his thoughts on his streaming experiences, because I've been there through a lot of it, from 2014 to 2017, and now off and on since then. I've been there. So it'll be really interesting to actually hear his thoughts, views, and experiences with it from his perspective instead of mine. So it'll be really, really great. So it's going to be a very fun episode. We're going to get into it a lot, and I can't wait. I really can't wait. It's been so long. So it's going to be really special. And there you go. You made it to the end of the episode. You got the reveal. Patrick will be my guest next week. So look forward to that. Thank you for hanging in there for 2 weeks of just random content that wasn't really random. I appreciate it so much. I hope you enjoyed the drinks as well. You felt a little cozy while listening to this. And I will see you all in the next video, which is Saturday for Unique History. Take care, everyone, and bye-bye.